10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra niceness of reggae music,
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. All the members of Parliament who are elected in the by-elections held last week have actually been sworn in, and the casualties, obviously after some defied party positions in terms of the campaigns that were conducted for the entire month preceding the by-elections, the fallout has started to shape up. Boni Khalwale is the first casualty. We have details lined up for you. Welcome to Prime Edition. Here are tonight's highlights.
Nimeambia waziri kuanzia tarehe 1 mwezi wa 6, kwa sababu sasa ndio tutapanga budget. Tutapanga budget ya kuwalipa shilingi 3,000 kila mwezi our village.
Smiling all the way to the village, President Ruto announces goodies for local administrators, among them inclusion of village elders on government's payroll, promotion of chiefs and police constables who are 50 years and above.
I have verified the correspondence received and hereby communicate that the majority party has effected a change in the office of the Senate Majority Whip. The new office holder, therefore, with immediate effect is Senator David Wafula Wakoli, MP.
Cracking the whip. Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale de-whipped from the Majority Whip position as the newly elected legislators take the oath of office. Storm in a teacup. Tea farmers up in arms against proposed amendments to the Tea Act. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Karon Njoroge is a sign language interpreter, once more stepping in for Irene Mchuma and Tom Boyer. To start us off tonight, President William Ruto has announced goodies for local administrators, among them inclusion of over 100,000 village elders on government's payroll, promotion of chiefs, as well as police constables who are 50 years and above. The president made the announcement while receiving the Judicial Usalama report from the Ministry of Interior. The report recommended a 21-point plan to enhance security, including officer welfare and support, policy, legal and institutional reforms, strengthening cyber resilience, decentralization of immigration services, border sector regulation and empowerment, as Giverson Minor now reports.
Extensive collaboration.
A day after presiding over the graduation ceremony of over 1,800 chiefs, President William Ruto hosted them at State House, Nairobi, at an event in which he received the Judicial Usalama report from the Ministry of Interior. The report recommended, among others, human resource management and development to fast-track the appointment and promotion processes for security and girls to restore operational leadership, increase morale, and ensure continuity in service delivery.
Hawa wote ambao walipatiwa training na wale wote ambao hawajafanyiwa promotion, everybody is going to be promoted one rank.
It is against this background that the president issued a directive that once implemented will change the fortunes of village elders.
Nimeambia waziri kuanzia tarehe 1 mwezi wa 6 kwa sababu sasa ndio tutapanga budget ya kuwalipa shilingi 3,000 kila mwezi.
Further, as part of recommendation on financial and resource mobilization, the President will direct Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen to liaise with Treasury to enhance the authority to incur expenditure for local administrators.
We have agreed, Your Excellency, that to start with, kwa rangi ya chiefs na assistant chiefs, AIE will be improved in every quarter by 15,000 shillings.
The report further recommends the deployment of specialized police units to handle unique challenges of various regions, including cracking down on goons and gangs. The government is also set to begin the construction of 900 new police stations and posts and further operationalize 24 new sub-counties.
Tuanzishe National Government Administration Police Unit to operationalize na askari wa kwanza 1,860 wakuwe deployed. Tunaelewana? Ndio wasaidiane na machiefs kule mashinani.
For ease of mobility, the government has also committed to procure 3,000 vehicles with emphasis on electric ones to resolve fuel challenges.
Endeni mtafute electric vehicles tununulie hii watu. Kila mtu jioni anacharge gari yake hapo, kesho anaendelea na kazi. Hakuna haja ya kwenda kuzurura kutafuta mafuta.
He would also direct a pay increment for those in the rank of constables and had hit 50 years.
Kama mtu amefikisha miaka 50 na bado yeye ni constable, wote hawa wakuwe promoted. Kwa sababu sasa miaka imesonga, waende nyumbani at least na kakitu.
The president also called on the local administrators to educate the locals on government policies, urging them to whip all children to attend school and speak out against gender-based violence. Other recommendations in the report were enhanced multi-agency security operations, community engagement and conflict resolution, small arms control and disarmament initiatives, consolidating identity, civil registration and correctional policy frameworks.
2, 1, and the launch.
Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
Jukwaa la Usalama report.
Thank you very much, Giverson, for that story. Now, in the meantime, the president has departed for Washington, D.C. in the United States of America at the invitation of President Donald Trump. President Ruto will join President Paul Kagame and Rwanda's President Kagame of Rwanda and his Democratic Republic of Congo counterpart, President Felix Tshisekedi, to witness the official signing of the DRC-Rwanda peace agreement, the most significant breakthrough in addressing decades of conflict in the eastern DRC. Now let me take you to a story that is going to shape the politics of the future. And Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale has been de-whipped from the majority whip position. In a communication by the Senate Speaker, Amason Jeffa Kingi, the ruling party resolved to remove the bullfighter, replacing him with Bungoma Senator Wafula Wakoli. In recent times, the embattled senator has been in the spotlight for going against the party's ideologies and decisions. Meanwhile, newly elected lawmakers consisting of 6 at the National Assembly and 1 in the Senate took the oath of office.
With just about a week to the commencement of Parliament's long recess, a Senate Majority Party meeting on Tuesday resolved to remove Majority Chief Whip Senator Boni Khalwale in the latest move by the ruling party to crack a whip on perceived rebel members.
Now, from the correspondence, the minutes indicate that a resolution was passed to remove the Senate Majority Whip, Senator Dr. Boni Khalwale, CBS MP, in accordance with Standing Order 22.5.
Khalwale's post will now be filled by Bungoma Senator David Wakoli from Ford Kenya Party.
Verify the correspondence received and hereby communicate that the Majority Party has effected a change in the office of the Senate Majority Whip. The new office holder, therefore, with immediate effect is Senator David Wafula Wakoli, MP.
Senator-elect, Baringo County.
Still in Parliament, the newly elected members of Parliament in the just concluded by-election took oath of office at the National Assembly and the Senate.
I, Ongondo Boydwere, having been elected a member of the National Assembly, do swear in the name of the Almighty God that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the people and the Republic of Kenya.
Protect and defend this Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, and that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge the duties of a member of Parliament. So help me God.
Nitaheshimu, nitatetea, nitatunza, nitahifadhi na kulinda katiba ya Jamhuri ya Kenya.
In a debate to welcome the new lawmakers, seasoned legislators faulted different political players for pushing the narrative of divisive politics.
What I actually see is a very disunited opposition. Disunited, colorless, rudderless, clueless, visionless, planless, and that is how they lost these by-elections, Honorable Speaker.
Mudende, because that one was a proof that the mountain is not owned by any one person. And as we move forward, we want to ask those members who have been elected to work for the people so that when it comes to 2027, we again make it.
Do not rely on social media. Being loud does not necessarily translate to votes. Young people must decide what they want. It is unfortunate that some young people are opposing boys.
The induction of the new members will take place on the 8th and on the 9th of December to familiarize new members with parliamentary procedures. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mongai.
And former Cabinet Minister Joseph Konzolo Munyao has been eulogized as a political stalwart who defended democracy through integrity, of course being one of the longest-serving leader of the Democratic Party, DP. In a requiem mass in Nairobi attended by key opposition figures and his former cabinet colleagues who served in the Kibaki administration, speakers called on Kenyans to reflect on the state of a nation inspired by the values in the late Munyao. At the Nairobi Baptist Church, mourners gathered to bid farewell to the legendary leader who served as Minister for Livestock under President Mwai Kibaki's first term in office. The opposition, smarting from multiple defeats in the by-elections that concluded last week, appeared in public for the first time together to mourn the late Munyao. They eulogized the former long-serving MP from Booni as a forthright man who held on to integrity as his moral compass in his many years of public service.
If we could just borrow that from Zay and inject that into our national discourse and our leadership, this country would truly change.
I must say that we from Nyeri remain indebted to the late Joseph Munyao for the way he stood with our third president, Mwai Kibaki, the formation of DP 1991, and he stuck with him. When he lost the elections in 1992, he stuck with him. When he lost in 1997, he stuck with him. And when he won in 2002, they won together.
We are here to honor a very distinguished, honorable Kenyan leader who has played his role on the national stage with such distinction.
With his party, in which he served as an official alongside the late President Kibaki, having lost the Mbeere North by-election, the opposition figures alleged that the state applied underhand tactics in tilting the scales.
I want to, in my own view, say DP did not lose in Mbeere North so that Konzolo will rest in peace.
We are coming to a general election in about 1.5 years. If we do not retrace our steps, we stand to lose our nation. So let us work hard, think hard, and be patriots, the way the late Joseph Konzolo Munyao was.
As a means of honoring his contribution to multi-party democracy, Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua called on Kenyans to support his push for the creation and sustenance of strong political parties.
And as we bury him, we'll emulate him, and in the parties that we belong, we'll make sure that we develop them into strong political parties for the growth of our democracy.
Now, Mandera County Governor Mohammed Aden Khalif has warned that drought experienced in the county has escalated to a crisis level. According to the governor, communities are now depending on overstretched boreholes while water pans have dried up, leaving thousands of families in dire need of support. The governor has made a passionate appeal to the national government and humanitarian agencies to intervene before the situation gets out of hand.
More than 95% of all the surface water sources, including underground water tanks, water pans, and traditional catchments, have dried up. We require 40 additional water bowsers for domestic supplies and 37 water bowsers for livestock watering, as weakened animals are increasingly unable to trek long distances in search of water and pasture. I therefore make a special appeal to national government, development partners, humanitarian agencies, NGOs, the private sector, and the local leaders to increase their support for water, food.
A story from the Northern Frontier County takes us to a very fast breather right here on Prime Edition. Don't go too far.
Try really hard to be a family again.
But have we ever been a family before?
Well...
No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you. No.
But I still have doubts that your sister had been responsible for what happened to you. Used to me solving all your problems, I'm not willing to do that anymore. So you'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
Lea Premium Flour, nurturing the world. Available in a store near you.
Disemba imefika na Ingo FM inawasha burdan kwa nguvu tukisherekea miaka 13 ya kuwepo. Bungoma, mpo tayari? Tarehe 5 na 7 Disemba tunawaletea kifurushi maalum cha kusherekea miaka 13. Miaka za muziki bora, hadithi zenye uzito na kumbukumbu tamu tulizounda pamoja na wasikilizaji wetu. Siku ya tarehe 5 Disemba tutaanza sherehe kwa upandaji miti katika shule ya St. Teresa Special huko Webuye. Kisha baadaye tutatembelea watoto katika shule hiyo ya St. Teresa kuwapatia zawadi pamoja na kukata keki ya anniversary. Jioni kutakuwa na burdan kubwa katika Olukulu Resort, yani Ingo Night kule Matulo Webuye. Kutakuwa na upete wa Musungu, Bungoma Band na wasanii mahiri kutoka Uluyani pamoja na watangazaji wako wa Ingo FM kwa burdan tosha na vibes kali. Tarehe 7 Disemba tutaendeleza shukrani zetu kupitia ibada ya kanisani katika Misiku PAG Church. Mwambie rafiki na endelea kusikiliza kwa sababu Disemba hii Ingo FM ni kituo chako cha sherehe na furaha. Ingo FM, miaka 13 ya burdan halisi.
When the hills gave way in Marakwet, thousands were left with nothing. But together, we can help them rise again. Join KBC in the Restore Hope, Restore Earth campaign, Unity in Adversity. Together for Marakwet, Donate through paybill number 522533, account number 8036543, or drop foodstuffs and supplies at Marakwet County offices. Every shilling, every tree, every act of kindness counts. KBC, bringing Kenyans together.
What kind of a mother are you? Zawadi amekufanyia nini?
Kama Zawadi anataka kusoma, hata umpeleke kwa kichaka, atasoma.
Nikusaidiaje?
Ni hata kwa natulipa ama
nikiinua hii Biblia, utatafuna nyasi kama miaka 7 kama Nebukadneza.
Is that all you can say? Mama kanisa?
Unajua kesho nitakuwa kama Monica analia.
Something bad might happen to you, Zawadi.
Watanitesa tu na kazi za nyumba.
Why are you so cruel to this kid, surely?
Get out.
Usitoke kwa hiyo room.
Try really hard to be a family again.
But have we ever been a family before?
Well...
No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you.
No. But I still have doubts that your sister had been responsible for what happened to you. Used to me solving all your problems. I'm not willing to do that anymore. So you'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
To hold on to something, to continue with my life. And only you can help me.
I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo. Answer us.
We apologize for the hitch that we've experienced, but let's move this forward. We'll come back. You're watching Prime Edition. The Deputy President, Professor Kioria Kindiki, has urged East African states to intensify their fight against transnational crime and strengthen people-centered justice systems, warning that weak judicial coordination undermines regional security and economic progress. He made the remarks at the opening of East Africa Magistrates and Judges Association annual conference, attended by more than 500 judicial officers from 8 countries, as Ben Chumba now reports.
I warmly welcome you to this.
Judicial officers from across East Africa assemble for the region's largest annual gathering, the Yamja Annual Conference. This year pushing a bold theme, justice beyond brick and mortar. Over 500 delegates from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo converged to explore modern, multi-door approaches to justice in an era of digital transformation and cross-border threats.
That justice must evolve, expand, and adapt if it is to meet the needs of our citizens in an era defined by rapid economic change, demographic transformation, and the deepening of regional ties.
The Deputy President warned that syndicates trafficking drugs, people, wildlife trophies, and weapons are becoming more sophisticated, demanding equally coordinated judicial action across the region.
Things like national security, things like national cohesion, and I dare say things like justice and fairness may not be infrastructure, but they are good software upon which the foundation of our respective nations is built.
He also challenged magistrates and judges to uphold integrity, embrace technology, and speed up case resolution.
It is not enough to make a decision. That decision must help carry the sustainability of the nation alone. Because a decision can help or even undo in terms of preserving the continuity of the nation.
Chief Justice Martha Koome noted that Kenya's judiciary is rapidly digitizing court processes, expanding virtual courts and strengthening small claims courts, innovations she urged the region to adopt collectively.
Our justice system, just because of the number of judgments written, but also by the fairness, speed, dignity, responsiveness, and humanity of the justice that they experience.
Beyond the speeches, experts discussed reforms to tackle case backlogs, judicial corruption, border-related crimes, and the role of artificial intelligence in managing evidence and court records. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
Great. It's my privilege now to welcome my...
In the meantime, calls for redesigning of the country's legal education system to embed office and integrity in the fight against financial crimes and corruption dominated the regional conference on the future of legal education in Nairobi. The three-day forum that brought together the legal practitioners spotlighted the critical gatekeeping role of lawyers in safeguarding financial integrity.
Kenya is currently ranked 4th in Africa among countries most hit by organized criminality, according to the Africa Organized Crime Index, with financial crimes contributing much to the vice. The legal fraternity on Tuesday convened in Nairobi to discuss the role of lawyers in curbing the crimes and improving the legal education systems.
As we train, we must ask ourselves, how are our courses training people, not just for the mechanics of law, but for the quality of the human person? What kind of values are really inspiring them? So we also live the dictates of Chapter 6 of our Constitution.
These realities demand that legal education continues to adapt and that integrity, compliance and global standards are embedded in curricula and professional training.
To stay ahead of the threats, Law Society of Kenya President Faith Odhiambo urged the legal sector to leverage on emerging digital tools, both in training and in practice.
It matters not that we welcome 2,000 new advocates to the profession every year, if it only matters that in every lawyer that graduates from our institutions, we ensure that they exemplify the quintessential competencies of a 21st century lawyer.
Long-term progress in financial investigations, asset recovery and corruption prevention depends on the competencies we instill in law students, trainee advocates and young practitioners today.
At the same time, the Council of Legal Education was challenged to develop a robust policy framework to regulate the operations of lawyers operating in sensitive sectors such as the public procurement prone to integrity risks.
Council for Legal Education needs to see that the lawyers who are serving in various counties, before there were no counties, now that we have so many counties and we have very many legal professions working in the counties. And these, especially the county attorneys, they are supposed to advise counties in terms of procurement. And as we know, procurement is the leading cause of corruption in Kenya.
John Kahiro for Prime Edition.
Let's cast our eyes on what has been happening, obviously, across counties. And Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi is demanding speedy investigations into a shooting incident at his family home in Kabete on Sunday. Separately, the family of a National Police Reservist who was among 3 people shot dead during a cattle rustling incident in Egembe, north of Meru County last week, is demanding justice for their slain kin. Here are details of those stories and others in the county news briefs as told by Kasichana Masha.
The family of John Mwenda, a police reservist who died in the line of duty while pursuing stolen cattle in Igembe, Meru County, is seeking compensation. According to his spouse, he was the sole breadwinner taking care of their 5 children.
Tulipoenda huko na bibi yake Grace, OCS alitueleza akatuambia Johnny alikuwa anafuata ng'ombe huko Ngathu ndiye akauawa.
Tangu hiyo siku hakuna mtu wa serikali amewaingia hapa, na ninakaa tu hivyo kwa sababu sijui nianzie wapi au nimalizie wapi. Mimi nimeanzwa na mashinda mengi sana.
Separately, Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi has issued a 7-day ultimatum for police to complete investigations into a shooting incident at his family home.
Nilikuwa nimepumzika sebureni, nikasikia kitu imegoga mabati. Kuangalia nikadhani ni jiwe, na nikaenda nikapaguza kitanda mchanga, kisha nikarudi. Sikufikiria ni nini hiyo. Kisha nikaenda nikaona shimo huko kwa mabati, ndipo angalia chini nikaona hii risasi.
Saa hizi ya kusema ni nani ama ni akina nani, na isipokuwa hatutaki kuwa wenye kuuza uoga ama kununua huo uoga sisi wenyewe, ni lazima tuongee kwa tahadhari kwa vile ni makosa kubwa sana.
The governor wants the identity of the shooter and the motive behind the attack known.
That is sitting under a tree.
Elsewhere, Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki issued an address to the county assembly where he listed agriculture as the main income earner, pledging to continue supporting farmers.
That we have put in place measures that assert our gross county product to Kenya shillings 87.9 billion in 2023 from Kenya shillings 80.5 billion in the year 2022, indicating an increase of 11.5% in real numbers and steady improvement in the local economy.
In Mombasa County, a legal battle between a businessman and the Kenya Railways Corporation has escalated into a high-stake confrontation over compliance of court orders. The Environment and Land Court issued arrest warrants against the corporation's managing director, warrants that remain unenforced.
I'm concerned as a Kenyan. Kenya Railways Corporation is a government agency, and the MD is an employee of the government, by extension the people of Kenya, and therefore we expect the MD and Kenya Railways Corporation to be in the forefront in upholding the rule of law.
Meanwhile, Ndia Member of Parliament George Kariuki wants a construction company behind an abandoned quarry in Kiandai, Ndia constituency, to immediately fence and secure the site after 3 people died at the quarry.
Haijarudishwa mchanga na ikaingia maji, na watoto kwa bahati mbaya wakaingia hapo, watoto 2. Sasa na hapo mbeleni tulikuwa tumepoteza mwananchi mmoja hapa, na sasa tumepoteza wengine 2. So in total tumepoteza watu 3 hapa eneo hili.
Elsewhere, calls for finalization of the mining regulations intensify to pave way for the release of 2.9 billion shillings in mineral royalties.
Where a royalty is paid, 10% goes to the community, 20% goes to the county, and 70% goes to the national government. That's going to go to all the counties. So, but as I said, Kwale, blessed with the minerals, is going to get the lion's share. So you can see, if you open up your county and investors come, then you will earn revenue.
Finally, Murang'a Governor Irungu Kang'ata unveiled smart city projects across the county that include opening of shopping centers, towns and markets for economic transformation.
Tumefanya katika soko takriban karibu 40 Murang'a yote. Ukiangazia pande ya Madhia hapa Kiharo, uende pande za Kangema, utapata zile smart city tumefanya ili soko zote za Murang'a ziendelee vizuri na tuwe tumebalance Murang'a yote.
Hapa amefanya vizuri. Kambura ziko poa. Tumeshukuru. Mambo ya masomo tuko sawa.
Lakini tunabakisha kitu kidogo hapa, stima hatuna kwa sababu ilipotea.
Kasichana Masha. Prime Edition.
In one of the stories, Kasichana referenced the Kenya Railways Corporation, and indeed some good news here from the Kenya Railways regarding the festive season. Beginning Monday, the Kenya Railways has announced the introduction of an additional Madaraka Express passenger service train that will ease travel during this festive season. The train will operate daily from Monday to January 5th, making one round trip each day. The train will be departing Nairobi terminus at 9:40 a.m. and arriving at the Mombasa terminus at 3:35 p.m. The return service will depart Mombasa terminus at 4:30 p.m. and arrive in Nairobi at 10:55 p.m. If you're planning to go to Mombasa, please go, plan accordingly. Clearly, looks like the Kenya Railways has actually sorted the inconvenience that you were about to deal with. Taking this forward, the latest report by the National Syndemic Disease Control Council on HIV/AIDS shows a surge of 19% in terms of HIV infections, with young people bearing the greatest brands. Kenya's national HIV prevalence now stands at 3%, representing 1.3 million people living with HIV. Nairobi leads in new infections, and the country has also recorded a rise in HIV-related deaths.
Kenya has reported a sharp rise in new HIV infections, a 19% increase from 16,752 cases in 2023 to 19,991 in 2024, according to the National Syndemic Disease Control Council's latest report. Nairobi leads with the highest number of new cases at 3,045, followed by Migori at 1,572, Kisumu at 1,341, Homa Bay at 1,180, and Busia at 886. Other high-burden counties include Siaya, Kakamega, Nakuru, Mombasa, and Bungoma. The report shows young people between 15 and 34 years remain the most affected, accounting for 74% of all new infections. Young women continue to record higher infection rates at 8,448 than their male counterparts at 3,134. The country also recorded a rise in HIV-related deaths at 3% from 20,480 to 21,007. Globally, Kenya now ranks 8th among countries with the highest HIV burden, alongside South Africa, India, Mozambique, Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. These are people with HIV in Kakamega County protest over being excluded from activities marking World AIDS Day.
To population ambayo ilikuwa inakuja kwa hii sherehe haiko. Unafikiria kama leo unaweza fikiria tuko kwa chiefs baraza, watu hawako. Ni kwa sababu gani? Funding ilirudi chini, wale donors ambao walikuwa na support ama wafadhili ambao walikuwa na support siku kama hii hawapo tena, imefanya hii siku imerudi chini sana. Kwa hivyo ni ombi langu kwa county government ya Kakamega, wakati wanapo kutenga fedha ambazo zinaweza saidia mambo ya maambukizi ya virusi vya ukimwi.
For Prime Edition, I am Teresa Muta.
And the government, in the meantime, is taking deliberate steps to protect members of ethnic minority groups and marginalized communities which have endured decades of exclusion. Speaking on Tuesday during the validation workshop for the draft policy on ethnic minorities and marginalized communities in Nairobi, Gender, Culture and Children Services Cabinet Secretary Hannah Cheptumo promised inclusion of the communities in critical decision-making as part of efforts to end discrimination against them.
Kenya's cultural landscape is rich and diverse. Yet, within this richness lies communities whose heritage, identity, and socioeconomic conditions have historically been overlooked or misunderstood. This policy changes that. It provides a national framework that recognizes and protects marginalized knowledge, systems, languages, and sacred cultural spaces.
If you look at it in detail, it actually aims to address historical injustices that have affected these various communities. It aims to address very critical issues that touch those communities, ranging from employment.
The Constitution is clear, and Article 10 on the national values and principles of governance, that we have to protect the marginalized. We have to ensure that there is equality.
Let's dip ourselves into business now. And Kenya faces a research funding gap of about 180 billion shillings annually. That research and innovation Principal Secretary Shaukat Abdul Raz says several options are under consideration to bridge the deficit. Abdul Raz says the government is mulling issuing a research bond or a mechanism for private equity.
Kenya spends on average 0.8% of the annual budget on research, way below the recommended 2%. To bridge the 180 billion shillings research funding deficit annually, the government is considering issuing a bond to raise 1 trillion shillings under a 10-year research master plan.
For the benefit of the society, if you like, the socialization of science, through this master plan, we are also advocating for the 2% of the GDP to support the research, development, science, technology, and innovation, and looking at the vision that we have to ensure that we can have impact.
The Principal Secretary says a part of the funds could be channeled to funding 1,000 PhD students annually.
In the next 10 years, the government is committed to put 1 trillion, and I think we are in the right trajectory. And as we advance in future with the artificial intelligence, things are going to be much faster, more effective, and more efficient, and we might be able to reduce the funding because we are going to improve efficiency.
We are looking at moving from the already proclaimed 2% of the GDP to get towards research funding. Currently, we are able to bring together our members of parliament who have just left us now to drum up the support of what the government is gearing towards having a knowledge-driven economy.
Plans are also underway to start issuing a single-window research permit to reduce research timelines.
And there is need for reforms in the vertical mobility, focusing on safety amid rising demand for elevators and escalators through growing high-rise developments. Real estate industry leaders, regulators and stakeholders say there is need for immediate action to ensure all installations meet safety standards and maintenance regulations are strictly enforced to protect those using the facilities.
With skylines in urban centers expanding, industry leaders say Kenya is on the cusp of becoming the region's anchor market for vertical mobility investment, manufacturing and regulatory reform.
With the densification and with the buildings now going very high, definitely the demand has gone up. But we're seeing that not only are we going vertical, but the space at which we're building has gone up. Affordable housing, if you look at the units that are being done across the country, they are vertical.
We see a future in this country where we are going to have industries being established in this country, and this opens up the market for most of the engineers, especially mechanical, electrical, civil, and other disciplines of engineering.
We are now making a pitch to all those international players. We already have a big affordable housing program that is going on, and you've seen the size of these houses. They all need escalators, so I think it's time we also say we want to have a manufacturing setup in here, and I think this is one of the partnerships I'm hoping we shall be able to develop.
While demand is rapidly rising, real estate industry leaders and stakeholders say Kenya must tighten oversight to prevent safety gaps in the fast-growing build sector.
The skyline of Kenya and Africa, for that matter, is growing taller, and I do not think it's possible without a relook at the way we approach elevators and escalators in this country. We look in terms of standards, codes, implementation, and that has to happen through all the sections of the constituents involved in making a building together.
And most critically, you'll find that at the installation stage, you'll find that the components and the equipment being installed are right. But then there are other critical issues that we need to consider, including maintenance of those equipment. If they are not properly maintained, then you'll find some of these faults creeping into the operation of the lift.
Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
Now, it looks like tea farmers are up in arms because the Kenya Tea Development Agency has opposed the proposed Tea Amendment Bill 2025 that seeks, among other things, to hike tea levy for 3 shillings. The bill that is awaiting debate in Parliament also seeks to address mismanagement and corruption within the subsector by empowering the Tea Board of Kenya, while also adding value to the tea industry. The agency says it will be compelled to move to court if Parliament approves the bill in its current form.
KTDA says that though the proposed law has some progressive clauses, attempts to increase levies and give the government more say in the sector will undermine the industry.
Kuna new levy ambayo itakuwa inakatwa mkulima per kilo of made tea shilingi 3 na 3.85 shillings. Hiyo ni pesa mingi sana. Tukimultiply na kilo ambazo tuliuza like last year over 550 kilos ama 54,000 kilos. Ukimultiply na 3 shillings inaenda close to 2 billion, ambayo ukidivide by the number of factories, 71 factories, ni kumaanisha kila factory itakuwa inalipa over 31 million, na hiyo ndio pesa hatutaki kukatwa.
KTDA board member Enos Njeru says the tea farmers in the Embu tea growing zone have called for more input from farmers to address issues around subsidies, brokerage fees, pricing and factory management to ensure better pays for their crop.
Tutaona wakulima watakuwa wanahitajika kutoa pesa kwa mfuko wakitaka kununuliwa kitu kama fertilizer, sababu fertilizer inanunuliwa na KTDA from a central point and then wananunuliwa na pesa kidogo, alafu wakulima ukatwa pesa baadaye. This time round utapata mkulima hakuna factory ama kampuni haitakuwa inaweza kununua haitakuwa inaweza kununua fertilizer.
Embu tea growing zone says should the bill become law, individual factories like Rukurire would lose an average of 31 million shillings annually, hampering development initiatives within the tea sector.
The government has rolled out training under the Nyota program in 46 counties, with training in Elgeyo Marakwet County, which was postponed due to deadly landslides, scheduled for later this month. The State Department for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Principal Secretary Susan Mangeni says this is a deliberate push by the government to ensure that even the most geographically isolated communities are included in the country's economic transformation.
Hivyo tuko na matumaini makubwa sana kwenyu nyinyi. We need you people to work very hard, kukuwa focused. Hii biashara msichukulie mchezo. Hiyo 50,000 ambayo tutakuja kukupatia twice, because tutakupatia kwanza first installment ya 25 ambayo 3,000 itaenda kwa saving. Huwezi fanya biashara kama hujaanza kusave.
Now, those investing in the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project are poised to enjoy customs duty exemptions, lower corporate tax rates, and a streamlined regulatory environment following designation of Galana Kulalu as a special economic zone. The Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says investment incentives will be offered to help attract global agribusiness players and fast-track value addition at the Galana Kulalu.
The Galana Kulalu project was established to reduce reliance on rain-fed agriculture, which is prone to crop failures. The government opened the project to private investments under the public-private partnerships model to develop irrigation infrastructure and promote commercial farming. Now, more investors are lined up following the gazettement of Galana Kulalu Food Security Project as a special economic zone. The target is to attract global agribusiness investors and enhance value addition in edible oils, cereals, horticulture, livestock and industrial crops. In addition, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says a one-stop land commercialization office is being established in Galana Kulalo to accelerate private sector participation in unlocking idle public land across the country. Kagwe says the government is expanding the land commercialization initiative to include idle land in counties. He says private sector investments, especially capital-intensive ventures, will create jobs. He highlighted Nyumba Group as a leading example of what committed investors can achieve under the Land Commercialization Initiative. The company, which has leased 300,000 acres, has already invested over 7.5 billion shillings in developing the farm and constructing irrigation infrastructure.
It's very clear, and I think we should be clear-minded within the Ministry of Agriculture and indeed within the government. The role of the private sector must be enhanced. We must enhance. We must look for ways and means of ensuring that the government facilitates and regulates unless the private sector does its bit.
Nyumba Group has created more than 3,000 jobs, providing livelihoods and stimulating economic activity in the coastal region. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
na soka. Na je, wajua kuwa KBC mwenzio wako wa dhati michezoni anakujali? Ndio maana KBC Channel 1 hukuletea taarifa na uchambuzi wa soka.
Kafu ndio wamechukua usukani
humu nchini, barani Afrika na ugaibuni, ikiwemo EPL, Serie A, Bundesliga na ligi zingine. Mashabiki pia hutuzwa kwa kujibu maswali kuhusiana na soka.
Swali letu la leo.
Haya yote ni kwenye kipindi cha Dunda Dunda kwenye KBC Channel 1 kila Ijumaa kuanzia saa 5 asubuhi hadi saa 6:30 mchana.
Nawahimiza Wakenya waendelee ku-watch Dunda Dunda show.
KBC, mwenzio wa dhati michezoni.
Indeed, it is time for the latest from the sports desk with me, Bernardo Kumu. We begin with soccer, where the Kenya national under-17 team, Junior Stars, will not play at next year's Africa Cup of Nations after losing a third slot to the continental tournament to host Ethiopia today. Now, Junior Stars suffered a 3-0 lose in the third-place playoff to Ethiopia, missing out on the 3 CECAFA region slots, with the other 2 already grabbed by finalists Tanzania and Uganda. After a goalless first half draw in the third-place playoff, Ethiopia went ahead in the 6th minute through Dawit Kasso, and 13 minutes later, the goals were 2 courtesy of Biniyam Abra. The win was put beyond doubt in the 4th added minute by Biruk Eyalcheu, who scored the third goal for Ethiopia. The 2026 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations will be played in Morocco. And tough luck by the Junior Stars. Remember that Tanzania were crowned the new champions after edging out Uganda, who were the defending champions, 3-2 in a final that was preceded by the third-place playoff between Kenya and Ethiopia. Moving on, the national government has committed to constructing an ultra-modern stadium in Mombasa following the completion of the Talanta Stadium. UDA Secretary General Omar Hassan Sarai disclosed that the government is working to ensure football infrastructure, development and talent nurturing programs are expanded in the coastal region. Elsewhere, the ongoing construction of Kirubia Stadium in Tharaka Nithi County is expected to be complete in March 2026. Sports Principal Secretary Elijah Mwangi says the construction of the facility is nearing completion with 70% of the work already done. The building of the Kioria Stadium has dragged on close to a decade, and its completion will signal a ray of hope to thousands of upcoming sporting talents yearning for a ground to hone their talents. The multi-million shilling stadium is set to host over 2,000 spectators. While inspecting the facility, PS Mwangi said the remaining phase of construction will see the erection of a presidential pavilion and holding rooms.
We have requested that the contractor to mobilize, get more people so that he can ensure that we are done with this playing field to be the standard that we need. Equally, as the governor have said on the learning track, we have seen the Tonton track is speeding off, and therefore we have requested the Sports Kenya and the team to come and carry out an assessment to see to it that by the time we shall be heading over this stadium, we shall have the right Tonton track.
The PS further announcing that plans were underway to construct 2 sports academies in Tharaka Nithi County and a 10,000-seater stadium in partnership with the county government.
Our ask, PS, is that if we delay this field with more than 4 months, if we hit April next year without this field being utilized, then that will be justice delayed, and it is equivalent to justice denied for the people of Tharaka Nithi and the youth who used to play here.
And to boxing now, where the national boxing team, popularly known as the Hit Squad, is set to depart this evening for the IBM Men's World Boxing Championship, set to be held between 2nd and 13th of December in Dubai. The delegation includes 13 boxers and 6 officials, all ready to represent the nation on the global stage.
Kenya's Hit Squad consists of 13 players. Leading the charge is light middleweight team captain Boniface Mugundi. He is joined by a formidable lineup of 12 other fighters, including minimum weight Silas Onyango, flyweight Kelvin Maina, bantam Shafiq Bakari, and featherweight Paul Omondi. The team is backed by a strong technical bench led by head of delegation Anthony Jamal Otieno, head coach Benjamin Moses, coaches David Munuhe and John Waweru. Gold medalists will receive 38 million shillings, while 19 million shillings will be awarded to silver medalists. Bronze medalists will pocket 9 million shillings, while 1.2 million shillings will be awarded the 5th place finisher. Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
And across the borders now, where Jamie Vardy scored his first double in Serie A to help Cremonese beat high-flying Bologna 3-1. The former England and Leicester City forwards' goals inflicted a first home defeat of the season on Bologna, who would have moved 1 point behind joint leaders AC Milan and Napoli with victory.
Orsolini curls it, and Dominguez hits the side netting. Might have been offside when Orsolini struck it. Bianchetti, lovely ball that. What a chance here for Pajero! And Cremonese have a shock lead at Bologna. Martin Pajero opens his account. Sale heads it down, straight to Bonazzoli. Vardy wants it. Vardy's peeled away for number 2. A couple of quick goals from Cremonese. And Jamie Vardy always scores against the big boys. Odegaard, Castro asking for a penalty. Bianchetti saying he couldn't get out of the way. Penalty has been confirmed. Up steps Orsolini, able to convert again from 12 yards, and the game has changed here at the Dallara. Bianchetti again showing his range of passing. Barbieri across, and Jamie Vardy's there again. His first brace in Italian football as he restores Cremonese's 2-goal cushion. Those striking instincts never die.
And amazing that Jamie Vardy is still delivering at the top level of the game. That's how we do it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernardo Kumu. Let's do this again tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Bernardo Kumu. For the sports bit. Of course, there are several other matches that are on card tonight in the English Premier League table. But of course, it's also important that you've mentioned the correct pronunciation of Bologna, because I'm sure the team at the floor, particularly Macharia, and one of our directors, thought Bologna is a Spanish cuisine. Good night. God bless you.
For charity, dial star 419 hash.
Nakuona. Kuja hivi sasa.
Mama, ona.